Imagine waking to a world where your home is as cold as the frozen streets outside, where your breath clouds the air inside your bedroom, and stepping out feels like plunging into an icy abyss.
Worst hit of all was the southwest of England, where practically every road became blocked and stayed blocked. And the rest of Britain wasn't much better. There weren't enough snowplows and there wasn't enough rock salt. But most important of all, there was just too much snow.
In 1960s Britain, winters weren't just a season. They were a relentless force, testing the spirit of a nation still rebuilding from the scars of World War II. The decade unleashed some of the harshest winters in modern history, with the Big Freeze of 1962-63 standing as a chilling legend when snow buried entire towns, rivers turned to ice, and daily life became a battle for survival. In this documentary, we'll dive deep into the raw human experience of enduring these brutal winters, exploring the extreme weather that gripped the nation, the desperate struggle to stay warm, the profound disruptions to daily life, the remarkable community spirit that rose from the cold, and the lasting legacy that reshaped Britain's infrastructure and culture. From frozen pipes to heroic acts of neighbourly kindness, we'll uncover stories of grit and resilience. Stick around, because one tale will reveal the unbreakable heart of a nation. What was it like to live through such unforgiving cold? Let's journey into the icy grip of 1960s Britain. Extreme weather, a nation under ice. The winters of 1960s. Britain were defined by their savage intensity, with the Big Freeze of 1962-63 marking the coldest winter since 1740. From late December 1962 to March 1963, an Arctic high-pressure system over Scandinavia funneled freezing air across the British Isles, plunging temperatures to record lows. The Met Office recorded an average January 1963 temperature of -0.2 degrees Celsius compared to the usual 4 degrees Celsius, with rural areas like Braemar, Scotland, hitting -22 degrees Celsius. Blizzards dumped up to 18 inches of snow overnight in cities like London, Birmingham, and Cardiff, while snowdrifts reached 20 feet in the Scottish Highlands, Dartmoor, and the Pennines. Southern England endured snow cover for 62 consecutive days, a phenomenon unseen in living memory. Other winters were nearly as ferocious. In 1961-62, the River Thames froze near Oxford for the first time since 1814, drawing skaters to its icy surface. The winter of 1965-66 brought weeks of sub-zero temperatures to northern England, with Newcastle recording -15 degrees Celsius. In 1968-69, heavy snowstorms paralysed Wales and the West Country, with drifts blocking entire villages. Thick fog, laced with coal smoke from fire-dependent homes, created pea soupers that reduced visibility to a few feet, grounding flights at Heathrow and stalling trains across the network. Lakes like Windermere and Derwentwater froze solid, supporting the weight of cars while icicles hung like jagged spears from rooftops and power lines. Coastal regions faced rare sea smoke, where freezing air met warmer waters, cloaking ports in eerie mists. Winds, often gusting to 60 miles per hour, cut through thin clothing and poorly insulated homes. Imagine waking to a world where frost coats your bedroom walls. How would you brace for the day? These winters were not just weather events, they were natural assaults that tested Britain's endurance to its core. The battle for warmth. Staying warm in 1960s. Britain was a grueling daily struggle, as most homes lacked modern heating systems. In 1963, only 10% of households had central heating, forcing families to rely on coal fires or portable paraffin heaters. The living room, often the only heated space, became a sanctuary where families huddled around a single fireplace. Coal was the lifeblood of warmth, but the Big Freeze disrupted deliveries as snow-blocked roads stranded lorries. A ton of coal costing £5, roughly £100 today, became a luxury, with prices doubling in some areas. Rationing in cities like Manchester limited households to half a ton, pushing families to burn furniture, old books, or scavenged wood to keep fires alive. Bedrooms were often unheated, with frost forming intricate patterns on single-pane windows. Families layered up in woolen vests, scarves, and even overcoats indoors, while children slept under every blanket they owned, clutching hot water bottles that cooled by morning. Paraffin heaters, priced at £2, were affordable but risky, causing fires or carbon monoxide poisoning. Over 70 deaths were linked to heater mishaps in 1963, per Home Office records. Gas and electric 2-bar fires, costing 10 shillings a week to run, strained budgets, especially during power cuts triggered by overloaded grids. In rural areas, farmers stuffed straw bales around windows or burned dried dung for heat, while urban dwellers taped newspapers over cracks to block drafts. Frozen pipes were a nightmare, bursting in thousands of homes. Glasgow's plumbers charged premium rates to thaw them with blowtorches, leaving families without water for weeks. The elderly and working-class families suffered most. Hypothermia cases surged, with hospitals reporting a 25% increase in cold-related admissions in January 1963. Women, often tasked with tending fires, spent hours shoveling coal, their hands blackened by dust. Men trudged through snow to fetch fuel, sometimes bartering with neighbors for a bucket of coal. Picture a home so cold your toothpaste freezes to the sink. Could you endure weeks of such hardship? The battle for warmth was a relentless test of resourcefulness, exposing the fragility of a nation not yet equipped for such extreme cold. Disruptions to daily life. The 1960s winters turned daily life into a saga of survival, disrupting transportation, food supplies, and social routines. Snow and ice crippled infrastructure, with the Great Western Railway reporting 75% of trains delayed or cancelled in January 1963, as tracks vanished under drifts and locomotives stalled in sub-zero conditions. Major roads, like the A1 in Yorkshire, were blocked for days, stranding motorists who huddled in cars with dwindling petrol. Some resorted to burning newspapers for warmth. In rural Devon, villages were cut off for up to 3 weeks, relying on RAF helicopters to drop food and medical supplies. Milkmen in Sheffield and Leeds switched to horse-drawn sleds, while postmen skied or walked miles to deliver letters, their bags weighed down by snow. Food shortages hit hard as delivery trucks couldn't navigate icy roads. Corner shops, the heart of communities, ran low on essentials like bread, milk, and potatoes. Housewives like Mary Thompson of Leeds recalled in a 2013 oral history stretching meals with tinned spam, corned beef, or mockfish made from mashed potatoes. Schools closed for weeks, with frozen pipes and unheated classrooms making lessons impossible. In Newcastle, head teacher Margaret Brown described children trudging through snow in thin shoes, only to find ink bottles frozen at their desks. Factories shut down as power cuts and coal shortages halted production. Coal miners faced layoffs, ironically, due to transport failures. The elderly were hit hardest, with hypothermia deaths spiking. Government records note 1,200 excess deaths in January 1963 alone. Power outages plunged homes into darkness, forcing families to rely on candles, oil lamps, or car batteries for light. Social life withered, with pubs and cinemas half empty as people stayed home to conserve heat. Yet children found moments of joy, building snowmen, sledging on bin lids, or skating on frozen canals and ponds, their laughter cutting through the gloom. Picture walking 2 miles through drifts for a loaf of bread, only to find empty shelves. How would you adapt? These winters reshaped daily routines, exposing vulnerabilities while sparking resilience and ingenuity. Community spirit and solidarity. Amid the freezing chaos, a remarkable community spirit emerged, binding Britons in a shared fight for survival. Neighbours became lifelines, checking on elderly residents or sharing scarce coal. In rural Cumbria, farmers formed snow squads, using tractors to clear paths and deliver food to isolated families, often braving frostbite in -15 degrees Celsius winds. In urban centres like Birmingham, milkmen and postmen battled blizzards to maintain deliveries, earning hero status. Local papers dubbed them the Winter Warriors. Church halls and community centres opened as warming stations, offering tea, blankets, and a rare chance to thaw out, with vicars like Reverend Thomas in Bristol serving hundreds daily. Volunteers were the backbone of this solidarity. In Liverpool, a group of teenagers formed a coal brigade, collecting and distributing fuel to struggling households, as reported in a 1963 Liverpool Echo article. Women's institutes and church groups ran soup kitchens, serving hot broth and bread to pensioners and families. In London, Boy Scouts navigated icy streets to deliver groceries, their efforts celebrated in BBC broadcasts. Oral histories in the British Library's archives recount neighbours taking turns to keep fires burning during power cuts, or families pooling resources for communal meals. One Sheffield street shared a single paraffin heater, passing it from house to house. This camaraderie echoed the Blitz spirit, with rationing-era habits resurfacing. Families swapped recipes for stretching supplies like mock goose from lentils or bread pudding from stale crusts. In Cornwall, fishermen organised a snow dance to raise funds for fuel, turning hardship into community joy. Village halls hosted sing-alongs, card games and storytelling nights, lifting spirits amid the cold. In Glasgow, a group of women knitted scarves and mittens for children, distributing them free to those in need. Picture your neighbours sharing their last bucket of coal to keep your family warm. Would you join this spirit of unity? The community spirit of 1960s winters transformed adversity into a collective triumph, showcasing Britain's heart and resilience. Lasting legacy and modern impact. The brutal winters of the 1960s, especially the Big Freeze of 1962-63, left a profound legacy that reshaped Britain's infrastructure, culture, and collective memory. The crisis exposed the fragility of post-war systems, spurring urgent modernisation. The government invested £12 million, over £250 million today, in snowplows, gritters, and road-clearing equipment, with councils stockpiling salt to keep arteries open. The Met Office, criticised for underpredicting the 1963 freeze, adopted computer-based forecasting by 1965, using early IBM systems to improve predictions, a leap from manual charts. The national grid upgraded power stations, adding gas-fired plants to reduce reliance on coal, which had faltered during shortages. Housing standards transformed as the cold revealed inadequate insulation. By 1970, central heating installations rose to 35% of homes, up from 10% in 1963, driven by demand for gas and electric systems. The 1965 Housing Act mandated better insulation in new builds, introducing double glazing and cavity walls. The coal industry, strained by transport failures, began its decline, accelerated by the 1956 Clean Air Act, which promoted smokeless fuels to curb smog. London's air quality improved by the late 1960s, reducing pea-super fogs. Culturally, the winters inspired a rich legacy. John Christopher's 1962 novel The World in Winter imagined a frozen Britain, while Cliff Richard's Winter Wonderland topped 1963 charts, blending nostalgia with the era's icy reality. BBC's 1963 documentary Winter's Grip captured the nation's struggle, now preserved in archives. Photographers like Bert Hardy immortalised snowbound streets and children's sledging, their images iconic in British history. Folk songs such as The Coldest Winter emerged in pubs, and stories of heroic milkmen became local legends, passed down through generations. The winters exposed social inequalities, as wealthier households with electric heaters fared better than coal-dependent working-class families. This spurred reforms, like Age Concern's winter fuel allowance, launched in 1970 to support pensioners, still active today. The elderly's vulnerability, 1,200 excess deaths in 1963, prompted NHS campaigns on hypothermia prevention. Survivors, like 82-year-old Peter Harris, in a 2023 Guardian interview, recall the era with pride. "We were frozen, but we looked out for each other." Schools introduced winter safety lessons, teaching children to layer clothing and recognize frostbite. The legacy endures in modern Britain. The 2018 Beast from the East, though milder, drew comparisons to 1963, but improved infrastructure, heated train tracks, advanced weather apps, mitigated impacts. Yet, climate change raises new concerns, with scientists predicting erratic winters, like 2024's mild January or sudden freezes. The 1960s winters taught Britain resilience, inspiring innovations like thermal insulation standards and community welfare programs. Imagine a winter so harsh it forces a nation to rethink its homes, roads, and spirit. How did 1963 redefine Britain? The legacy is a story of adaptation, unity, and survival etched into the nation's soul. The brutal winters of 1960s Britain, from the legendary Big Freeze of 1962-63 to the icy trials of the decade, tested a nation's endurance, ingenuity, and heart. From savage snowstorms and freezing homes to disrupted lives, unbreakable community bonds, and a legacy that modernized Britain, these winters revealed the raw reality of survival. Which tale of grit or warmth moved you most? Share it in the comments. If this journey through Britain's icy past gripped you, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell for more epic historical adventures. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.